Hello and welcome to Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. I am meteorologist Brad Warner, and we've got a couple of disturbances to talk about in the beginning of the week, and we're going to talk about the bigger system coming out into the plains later in the week and let you know whether that'll have an effect on our area. All right, and as we could see here on Monday, we've got this weak disturbance that's going to be ejecting out of the Rockies and heading our direction. This is the upper level pattern that we're looking at, by the way, if you're not used to seeing this. And you can see this wave kind of moving through in the day on Monday. Now, there's not going to be a lot of moisture with this system, so we might get a few sprinkles or a little bit of freezing drizzle or maybe some snow with this. It just depends where, but all in all, really not expecting a whole lot out of this. We do have another little kicker, another little system that pulls out week one later, more so Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night. You can see this moves through our region and kind of gets wrapped up a little bit. That one's got a little bit more moisture with, and so that one's going to be worth a little more of our time tonight. Now we see on their simulated reflectivity some showers, some precipitation essentially showing up on the models here as we start our morning off 6 a.m. Monday. And you can see pretty much through the morning and into the early parts of the afternoon, most of that reflectivity just kind of stays into the western to central parts of North Dakota. Now, with that said, the lower levels are really dry. So when we take a look at what the model has predicted for possibly reaching the ground, it doesn't really show much of anything. It shows a little bit of rain, just a few streaks, maybe freezing drizzle. So really not expecting much. It's just going to be very spotty, very light. If anything does make it to the ground at all throughout the day on Monday in the western and central parts of North Dakota. And so here comes this next little system that begins to move through the area. And this is right around noon on Tuesday. We can see just that mixed bag of freezing rain and rain starting off in the west. Now, the temperatures will be a little bit warmer as we go through the day on Tuesday, particularly down in the southwestern and western parts of South Dakota. So I think if anything does fall down there, it'll mostly be rain through the afternoon hours. But some of these areas up in the north could see more of that rain, freezing rain. Just depends where exactly this falls. Now, as we get closer to about 6 p.m. here, a little more of that rain starts to turn over to snow. However, as we go through the evening and nighttime hours, we still see the possibility, at least, of maybe some mixed bag of precip across this little thin line that wants to develop across southeastern parts of North Dakota and central parts of Minnesota. And then as we get to midnight or so here, a little more snow. Everything by this point, by midnight, is pretty much turned over to snow. That freezing rain's now moved into Wisconsin. And then as we complete the night and get into Wednesday morning, we're just left with snow across northeast North Dakota and northern parts of Minnesota. Now, as we switch over to the simulated reflectivity, you notice this heavier band that wants to develop kind of in that main area that I circled earlier where it had that snow and maybe some of that freezing rain left over. This is Tuesday evening, right around 9 p.m. or so. And now this band does set up like this. We could be talking about maybe some moderate to heavy snows for a brief period of time as this moves to the north and east throughout the early parts of the night on Tuesday night. Now this is midnight. It looks like this heavier band by this point could be mostly done, or at least moving mostly into Wisconsin by this point. And then beyond that, looks like it's going to be a little bit lighter after that. But an interesting setup nonetheless. There's a couple of models that do have this little band that does set up. And so, of course, if it does so, we could see a burst of snow associated with this as it moves through the overnight hours Tuesday night. Now, this little system does take through Wednesday to completely get out of the area. And in fact, some of these areas across northern parts of the North Shore, kind of in that Lake and Cook County, just depends if things are developed the right way. But I could see the potential for some of you guys picking up just a little bit of more snow than the surrounding region as we get into the late Wednesday morning into early Wednesday afternoon. And then as that system finally pulls out Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, most of the snow is gone by Thursday morning, just a little bit left up in the northeastern parts of Minnesota. And predicted snowfall accumulation, at least according to this latest model here. Here we are Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Some generally 1 to maybe 2 by this point. Once we get to 9 p.m. and midnight Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, you can see where that heavy band sets up. So really we're at anywhere within that band. We could see 1 to 3 inches, but locally, you might have the possibility of seeing 4, maybe an isolated 5 out of this if it does get intense enough and it kind of sits over one area. Now, it does kind of have this 5-inch mark kind of down in that south central, southeastern parts of North Dakota there. But really, I think this could be anywhere within that more intense line in through here. So just keep that in mind as we take a look at this particular model. Otherwise, as we complete and we go throughout the day on Wednesday, we see a little more snowfall across the north. I think this is probably a little underdone along the north shore there as well. But generally what we're looking at for most areas is probably going to be between that 1 to 3 mark, with the exception of probably this area here where we could see the isolated 4 to 5, as well as up in the North Shore, kind of the same thing, maybe an isolated 4 to 5 inches there as well. And here is just a little different model, and it shows that heavier band just a little bit further north than what the other model had. The other one was a little more down in through here. So just keep that in mind. Some of this could adjust, especially when we're talking about just a narrow band that could set up. You know, any kind of shift, any north or south is going to make a big difference with this. And just because it is a little early, obviously, we're not very certain whether that heavy band will set up at all, but if it does, the location of it is really going to be hard exactly where to pinpoint. So just kind of keep that in mind, is that somewhere in here, at least at this point, we're looking at the possibility of that stronger band developing, and then also maybe a little bit more along the North Shore as well. So just keep that in mind. We'll take a look at it again tomorrow night and see how things are developing. All right, then if you tuned in at the end of last week on Thursday, Friday, you know I mentioned the possibility of this storm system coming out of the Rockies and into the plains, and it was just a matter of where exactly this was going to set up. Was it going to be trickling kind of further south? Would it be a little bit further north that would kind of clip the southeastern part of our region? Well, it looks like as time goes along, at least for now, it's going to stay to our south. Now, Storm Chaser's delight, it looks like there's going to be some severe weather associated with it, but as far as our region goes, for now, it looks like it's going to miss us. And really beyond that, once that moves through, we kind of have this high pressure that sits over us, bringing some sunny skies, and really not too bad as far as temperatures go, just because at least we'll have some sun. We're not going to be, you know, most of us aren't going to get above freezing, but at least we're not dealing with the Arctic air. And of course, this is we're getting into the weekend here, and that high pressure just sits over us right into the weekend. So once we get past the Wednesday and get that snow out of the Northeast by Thursday, then we're good for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. All right, and just a quick look at high temperatures expected here, according to the National Weather Service for Monday. Generally in the teens across the Red River Valley region, otherwise 20s, and then you get into the 40s out in the western parts of the Dakotas on Monday, and then it's kind of on repeat after that. 20s generally across much of the area, 40s down in the south. Wednesday, again, more of the same, 20s, maybe a tad warmer in the southeastern parts of Minnesota, maybe a little cooler down in the southwestern parts of North Dakota. Thursday, 20s in the east, 40s, maybe some 50 even down in the southwestern parts of South Dakota. Friday, 20s in the east once again, 40s, maybe 50 in the west. And then Saturday, generally 20s in the north, a little bit warmer down in the southeastern parts of Minnesota. And then once again, we're looking at 40s and right around 50 down in southwestern parts of South Dakota. Much like I mentioned in my last video on Thursday, you might have watched it on Friday, but I was talking about fog that's going to be persistent particularly across the Dakotas through the weekend. And of course, that did happen. A lot of areas of dense fog through the overnight hours and into the early parts of the morning, and then they would burn off and we'd get sunny. Now with these disturbances moving through, that's going to change things a little bit. You won't see as much fog. You might see some patchy stuff, but you're not going to see the dense fog out there at all. So at least we're kind of getting rid of that a little bit as we go. And then, of course, you know, we got a little bit of snow coming mainly Tuesday into Tuesday night. and then Wednesday up in the northeastern parts of Minnesota. And then we're looking golden after that. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date with the latest for the Dakotas and Minnesota weather-wise, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, as always, please leave a comment down below. Let me know where you're from if you haven't so already. Or if you haven't said hi for a while, it's a new year. Hey, say hello and let me know you're still out there. That'd be great. And please, as always, share this channel so we get more people watching. We need more people watching this, because as we get into not only the winter weather, but as we get into severe weather as well, I will be on live. And of course, that will definitely help more and more people out as they view this channel. So let's get the word out, folks. That would be fantastic. So, all right, everybody, for Region Weather Live, clear my throat. I am meteorologist Brad Warner. Everybody, have a good day.